Good morning, Marvin Sylvester here. Today is the 2nd of April 2023. I hope all is well with you, all is well with me, as usual. And how do we start? Well, as you can see, the weather here today is more or less, it's sunny but very overcast. It have a lot of clouds, I think we might even get a little rain, you never know. Nice one. Two, where am I? Well, you all remember that a few weeks ago I was at one end of the Mosquito Creek. This week I am at the opposite end of the Mosquito Creek, where if you're heading South Trinidad, I'm at the end of the Mosquito Creek, and if you're heading North Trinidad, I'm at the beginning of the Mosquito Creek. What else? As usual, as you all know, I must say and start with saying thank you to everyone who has been viewing, liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting of recent on my videos. I greatly appreciate your engagement with the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Also, I will continue to ask you to view, like, share, subscribe. If you haven't done so, hit the notification bell so that you will be aware of these videos as I put them up. And now what we're gonna move on to, what news stood out to me this week. Well, as you all know, the past couple weeks I have been clamoring, asking, almost begging for somebody of authority, some sort of subject matter expert to speak on the recent IMF report, right? IMF staff report which was done on Trinidad, the Article 4 report which was done on Trinidad last month. And we got what we were asking for. We got the Finance Minister, Mr. Colm Imbert himself, to come out and to speak on the report. And how to put it, I'm very happy, very happy that he came and he spoke on the report. That was last Monday gone. He held a media conference, and in his conference, as you could tell, if you've seen it, I'm definitely going to post a link to it. If you've seen it, you're hearing some music in the background. Alright. A music truck passing there. Big tunes. Right? So, he held a media conference because the impression I got that he was not happy with how the report was being presented in the mainstream media, and also he needed to give clarity on the report, because in his view he sees the report very positive. He would say probably, I think, was 15 to 17 points were strongly positive reports on the government, and there were members of the business community who were also asking him to come out and to give feedback on the report. So basically he did that, right? Like I said, he was in a no-nonsense mood. In my opinion, he was very much in charge of his brief. You could tell that he was fully prepared with his presentation, in his explanations of all the points. Not some, he went through all the points one by one. And there was a question and answer segment where, as the Express would have highlighted, he gave a robust defense of his position on the report, right? Which in my opinion was good. Kudos to him. Because at the end of the day, it's very easy to put something out there and to just leave it, let it blow in the wind, and however it... Mr. Imbert, he has his views on the report. He strongly believes in them. He put his name to it, he put his face to it, he stands by his points. and he lets us know what he thinks, what he believes, and his interpretation of things. And I respect that. As you all know, I'm sure you'll get it to know me. That kind of approach, you stand up, you say what it is you have to say, you defend it. I respect that, right? So, like I said, he went through each point, and I just want to kind of cover the points which stood out to me the most, right? Because all the points that he raised were important. All the points that he raised and all the explanations that he gave were important, but I want to touch on a few specific ones, right? So one of the things he spoke about was the LNG prices. Now you all remember when in the mainstream media it was being reported about the low LNG prices and whatnot, and the $6.50 I believe per MMBTU, which was used to peg the budget for gas prices. I don't know, you all should remember in one of my videos I would have said I was wondering what projections or rationale was used. And I specifically said, I would like to, if I had the opportunity to hear from the minister directly, I would like to hear what was his reasoning for using that $6.50 per MMBTU, because I was pretty confident there was some sort of rationale to it, right? And also, I mean, one could have assumed from reading articles in the mainstream media that mainly the price that was used to set the budget figure was from the Henry Hub, right? And if you would have been following the mainstream media, you would have think it was only from the Henry Hub. And then also we would have gotten some brief information from both Minister Imbert and Minister Young stating that it wasn't just Henry Hub, it was also Asia and European markets where they were getting their prices and making their estimates from. But we didn't get much information or data or details, right? So in this report, the minister cleared that up. He cleared it up completely. He came out and he stated that when it comes for tax and revenue purposes, they have a formula that they use, and within that formula they incorporate 3 benchmarks. One of them being the Henry Hub, which is the US standard, US benchmark. There's the NBP, which is the UK benchmark, and there was the JKM, which is the Japan Korea benchmark. And then in using those 3 prices, they have a formula which helps them to develop a net back price. And it's that net back price that they used for the budget. So they take all the markets that they would be selling in or whatever it is. This is what I gather. They take all the markets that they're selling in, the prices. I think he was saying, well, as we know, it's around $2 somewhere there in the Henry Hub. I think it was around $15 or so for the UK hub, and around $16 or somewhere there so for the Japan Korea hub. And when you take all of that together, you end up somehow at around $6.50. Now the only thing I didn't hear him specifically speak on was, well, exactly how much gas we sell in Asia and Europe and how much it helps to offset the lower than expected prices that we see in the Henry Hub. We didn't specifically get any data on that, but I wish we would have heard that. But that's okay. He also mentioned that there's a formula for other petrochemicals, ammonia, etc. That they use to help develop the budget prices and whatnot. He also spoke about maintaining the repo rate, the central bank interest rate at 3.5% to facilitate growth of the economy. He also mentioned that we are not mandated by law to increase our repo rate to control inflation. which is something that the US does by law. The US Federal Reserve, which is their central bank, they do that by law, but we don't have that sort of restriction. So even though the IMF report was recommending that we do it, I guess in kind of tandem with what the US is doing, we don't have to, because our constitution, our central bank regulations or laws or anything does not require us to do so. And he also highlighted the effects of increasing the interest rate, or potential effects that could happen here in Trinidad and Tobago, as well as he highlighted some of the effects of that same action in the US. I'm not going to go into detail in that. Like I said, I'll post the video, not post it, but I'll post a link to it so that you could see for yourself, right? Also, he spoke about the increasing of the retirement age from 60 to 65. He indicated that some unions are for, some unions are against. I think for it would have been the NUGFW. I hope I put the acronym correctly. And then against it would have been the PSA. And then he raised that point that I didn't think about, which was how, you know, in those who may have been against, potentially it could have been affecting promotions, because at 60 where people would go home and it would allow people to advance for promotional career opportunities. You know, if you extend it to 65, it could affect people's promotions, and that didn't come to my mind. So that's a good point to raise there too. He also indicated that, you know, for the people who choose to go on, they would be able to earn a higher income and make more contributions towards the pension fund to help people who enjoy the pension to enjoy it, and for those who would go to want to earn pensions would be able to benefit from it. That was good. You also have mentioned that Jamaica and Barbados, their retirement age is already higher than us. I think Jamaica was 66 and Barbados was 65, so there's precedent. Other Caribbean countries have already done it. And UTT professors and judges already retiring at 70. I did not know this. Good information. And he also mentioned that increasing the actual NIS contribution, the actual amount of money everybody paying per month to NIS, is a last resort. They're trying to find other ways of expanding and growing the pension fund without resorting to that, which was good. Because as I would have said, that subject to debate, I know that might rub some people the wrong way. He also mentioned that within the IMF Article 4 reporting, there's an option. The government has an option to report it or not, or to have it reported or not. And the minister chose to allow it to be reported, even though they may have some objections or differences with some of the points raised. I think that was very good. It facilitates openness, it facilitates transparency. It allows us, the regular public, to get more information on what's going on. So again, kudos to the Minister and the Finance Ministry for doing that. He also mentioned that the IMF is a lender of last resort. Now in my last video, I would have indicated that we should try to stay away from organizations like the IMF as much as possible. For the same reason, you know, he raised the very strict measures that come with engaging in the IMF. And I mean, I knew about them. I didn't mention them in my last video, but all of that was kind of part of the reasoning why it is I was saying, you know, we should try to stay away from the IMF as much as possible. And he also went into detail explaining, giving examples. I think he gave some examples with Jamaica as to why it is we don't want to go down that road. And I'll come out openly and say, I agree, right? Another key point, he was mentioning that capital expenditure, I understand that to be new projects, new big projects, building of infrastructure, and probably big infrastructure projects will continue even if there are fiscal budget deficits. So even if he started to make a budget deficit, he's going to continue doing it. He's willing to incur a couple $1 billion in debt to keep capital expenditure projects growing, to fuel economic development. And I won't say whether I agree or disagree. I guess time will tell exactly how beneficial that position is. But I will say that in principle, I understand what it is he is saying. Because if we don't do these capital expenditure projects, to some extent it will stifle economic growth or limit or cause economic growth to plateau, which we don't want. We want it to grow. So you have to put something in to get something out. My only concern is, as I always say, is the inflation, how we managing that aspect of things, especially when we're not increasing the interest rate, which I mentioned in my last video. So, but again, these people are the subject matter experts. We will watch and see what it is they're doing, and we would again hope other subject matter experts would come and give their thoughts on what the minister said, and we'll watch it and see what's going on with it. And all in all, if I had to say my overall thoughts on the conference, I would say it was a good conference. The minister also engaged with the media, and if I had to say, who, if there was like a battle of the wits between the questions and responses, that kind of thing, I would have to admit the minister came out on top. As I said, he was very much in charge of his brief, and he gave a very robust defense. Just my thoughts on it. I was also impressed by at the end of his presentation, I think his communication specialist would have said, at this time, we have no questions. And he said, okay, well, I will wait. When he said that, now, whether you take his confidence or cockiness, I'm not saying which one it is. But again, like I say, I respect that. You come out, you have a media conference, and you want to engage the media because you want to make sure that they ask questions and that you put out the government's response to it. Like I say, I respect that. And yeah, and like I said, he defended his position. So again, overall good media conference. So with that being said, like I said, the media was able to ask certain questions, and as you can see, the channel is getting some subtraction. So I don't know if it have persons who may be having the listening ear of certain parties that may be able to get what I'm going to say out. But I have some questions. I wish if I had the opportunity to ask the minister some questions, I would have asked some questions too. Hoping you all want to hear what questions I would have asked the goodly minister. Right? Marvin is reporting for Marvin News. And I would have had these questions, right? Tell me if you all, so choose. Tell me in the comments if you agree with these questions that I would have asked, right? So here's the first question. First question is, as per point 4, based on the projected fiscal deficits for 2023 into the medium term, how does the government plan to treat with its contributions to the Heritage Stabilization Fund? For instance, will you meet or exceed the 2022 contributions as per point 6 of $345 million US, or 1.3% of GDP? Will you reduce contributions, meet constitutional requirements, or cannot say at this time? I think that's a fair question to ask. I think that would have been a fair, reasonable question to ask. What y'all think? Tell me in the comments. Tell me in the comments. Here's another question. Question 2. As per point 2, the Heritage Stabilization Fund is our main public buffer and is and this is mainly in US dollars, right? Clear this question. However, based on global events, one could argue that countries are moving away from the US dollar, and there's a term for it: de-dollarization. Considering this possible global shift, does the government have any plans to diversify the Heritage Stabilization Fund with other currencies or commodities? For instance, is the acquisition of Chinese yuan or gold worthwhile as additional buffers? I think that would have been a good question. Tell me what you all think. I think that would have been a good question. Another question. As per point 19, it states several renewable projects are being developed to meet 30% target of the renewable energy sources by 2030. So, regarding the BP Shell solar project, do you have any update on when they will come on stream? Also, are there any major new renewable projects the government is working on? Tell me what you all think. That's a good question. I would have asked the minister those 3 questions if I had the opportunity. Right? Anyway, what else stood out this week? So, I want to cover a Daily Express article dated the 28th of the 3rd, 2023. Amerijet expands with new service center in Port of Spain. It's an article by Andrea Perez Sobas. Right? So, covering this article here, Miami-based cargo carrier Amerijet International Airlines has expanded its operations with a shared services center in Port of Spain. It has created jobs for 25 professionals, the company said yesterday. At the opening, the article also goes on to state, at the opening of their new office at Victoria Avenue, Queens Park, Port of Spain, Chief Financial Officer Amerijet International Joe Mozali said the company identified Trinidad as the ideal location for a regionally located service center. Trinidad fits the definition to also look for highly educated, skilled workforce. I'm extremely excited about our growth opportunities for the center, Mozali said. The Shared Services Center will handle financial and management functions and report directly to the company's Miami headquarters. Trade Minister Paul Ogogoskoon said this investment was valued at $13.5 million and will support internal services such as accounts payable, receivable, revenue accounting, project management, and business intelligence to its customers' functions. Now, I don't know if you all remember, like I said last week, I was wondering what kind of ways that we could organically grow without borrowing or borrowing very little. And I was saying this same thing, that if you could get IT centers and support centers and these kind of things to come to Trinidad and Tobago, I think that is what it is we need to do to help to continue our economic growth and to build our GDP, right? Obviously there are lots of different ways and lots of different things that could be done, but I think this is one of the best ways to do it for us here in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, in that same article, right, there was something else that caught my eye. There was a paragraph that said the government is committed to providing opportunities for investors like Amerijet through the introduction of special economic zones regime, which is nearing completion. Now, first time I'd heard about that term, special economic zone, right? So what I did, I went and I looked it up, and Trinidad and Tobago actually has a special economic zone policy on the Ministry of Trade and Industry website. I will post that. It's a PDF document with about 35 pages, I think. I think it's something that it's very worth while reading. I read it. I got a lot of information there, and I want to extract 2 points from it, right? 2 points that, that helps to support what it is I was saying, because obviously you have these technocrats who would have come up with these sorts of ideas and they're working on it, right? So let me just extract these 2 points. The first one was policy objectives, and I'll just read it out quickly. The general objective of the Special Economic Zone policy for Trinidad and Tobago is to modernize and strengthen the existing regulatory framework governing free zones, taking into account the progression of free zones worldwide, international best practice, and unique national circumstances and developmental agenda of the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. The specific objectives of the Trinidad and Tobago Special Economic Zone policy are: 1. To develop a new modern special economic zone regime. 2. To expand the country's revenue base. 3. To increase and diversify exports and investments in economic zones. Makes sense. To increase and enhance private sector participation in the economy through inter alia special economic zone development and operations. Makes sense. 5. To increase compliance of special economic zone operations with local, regional, and international law standards and laws. Sense. I'll read one more section from it. Point 5. The policy outcomes. Point 1. Under that is point 1. Modern regulatory framework for a dynamic and attractive special economic zone regime in Trinidad and Tobago. 2. Increased number of special economic zone operators operating in Trinidad and Tobago, which we should welcome and want. 3. Higher levels in equality and quantity of investments by domestic and foreign firms in more industry areas. And point 4. Increased private sector participation in zone development and operation, which makes sense. Which all makes sense. So in my opinion, this is definitely one of the ways that we have to go in. We definitely should be pushing to get more Amerijet-like investments. I see it as one of the ways to definitely grow the economy, and obviously the parties in power see it that way too. Kudos to the Ministry of Trade and Investment. Kudos to Minister Gopi Schoon. I'm confident she does a good job in trying to get investors like these to come into Trinidad and to do these kind of things. So well done on them. We need to keep it up. We need to get that SEZ thing going ASAP and build that up, right? Now the last article for this week is on a kind of lighter note, but something that I'm keeping my eye on, which is remember that Alfa Romeo boat, that $120 million boat in Antigua and Barbuda that was quote unquote abandoned? And I was like, how people just abandoning $120 million boat? What kind of world we live in? Well, there's been a twist. Here's the twist. Antigua and Barbuda, well, this is an article from Luxury Launches dated the 26th of March 2023, right? Antigua and Barbuda's plan to sell rich oligarch Andrei Gurev's $120 million super yacht may fail miserably as a man from Moscow is now claiming ownership of Alfa Nero. The Caribbean nation had even amended its law to auction the vessel, right? It was an article by Neha Tandon Shah. So I'll just go into the part with the plot twist, right? You know what it says? It says, the new twist to the twisted tale. The latest development will see Alfa Nero go nowhere, not to a new destination or a new owner, and definitely not for sale. Despite amendments to the Port Authority Act, officials might not be able to sell the Alfa Nero. The man, Alexander Mavrodi of Moscow, Russia, has claimed ownership of the luxury vessel. And apparently he's his attorney, or somebody's attorney said. Attorney Leon Chakus Symeister stated, in spite of amendments to the Port Authority Act, the Brown administration might not be able to sell the Alfa Nero, the yacht registered to the Russian oligarch, if a challenge is made for ownership. So like I say, I was finding it strange that you have a nice yacht, and like I say, all you get a chance, go online and watch the pictures of this boat. I was finding it truly remarkable or fantastic, whatever you want to call it, that a boat that nice would be abandoned by somebody. So don't worry, I'll keep following up on the story, and if anything else comes up, I'll keep you all up to date. So short video this week. Yeah, and that's it for stories this week. So now it's just for me to say the usual. Again, if you've watched this whole video, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. For those of you who continue to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, obviously view the video, thank you very much. Please continue to do so. As usual, if you really like the video and you want to provide further support, there will be a link to my Buy Me a Coffee. All the stories that I covered this week will be in the description for this video. And yeah, I think that's it. It's just for me to say the normal thing, you know, to keep informed, stay vigilant, and be prepared. You know, so have a wonderful day. Whenever you're seeing this video, have a great day and have a great week. And until the next video, take care. Bye bye.